This is Aner Dyfan teaches, from the depths, efficient carburetor engines. To start with, we need to build a fortress. This is a fairly simple design. What you need is a lot of fuel, a lot of thrusters there to ensure that it stays upright, an electric engine and RTGs in order to power those when the fuel engines are not functional. Then, very importantly, we need a shield projector. This is set to a maximum power, so it is drawing as much as possible. It doesn't matter it's not working efficiently. This is so that the engine will be under load. This is important because turbos will not function very well at low power loads. They require a large amount of exhaust gases to be pumped through them in order to spool them up. This can only be achieved when the engines are actually under load. So, working above the surface, this is so that I can actually get on all sides of the engines, and place the most important parts, the fuel engine generator. This is the engine block, and everything is connected to this. Next, I'm going to place a crankshaft, and in fact place a couple of crankshafts, so have a little bit more space to deal with. And then a cylinder. This produces 10 power, and is not very efficient. Then want to place a carburetor on this. So you may think that these things, these superchargers, will be effective, however they are not very efficient. If I just place this on and put as many on as possible, you can see that the fuel engine is still only, well, it's overheated and exploded, so just put an exhaust on to cool this down. Do need to remember to always do that, because yes, otherwise they overheat, and the hotter a cylinder is, the less efficient and less power it produces. So let's have a look at this again. It's only a fuel efficiency of 107. This is admittedly greater than the fuel injection engine, but it is still quite poor. These superchargers work really well when you have it quite low power, but you are having to push it right down to around about 20% maximum drive, or even lower. And quite frankly, only having a tiny amount of power is not really worth it, only about 13 power. Still, sometimes you only need that very small amount of power, so these guys are sometimes worth considering. What you want to be using rather than the superchargers are the turbochargers. These work multiplicatively with each other. So one provides an efficiency of 1.18, and if I have 2, that is 2, and it increases up to 1.39 total, and this here increases it further again, and this here. So all 4 of those, each is only 1.18, but the total efficiency is 1.92 on this carburetor. So now if I have a look at the generator itself, it is now up to 160 power per fuel. And again, that is basically, well, over double what I was getting with the injector engines, and 60 more than with the superchargers at this power. So it is a very nice little feature. To do note how I have placed these, if I just remove this, you see that the white part has a large black end. That has to be connected to the carburetor itself. It doesn't matter what orientation is connected to the carburetor, it doesn't need to be like so, apart from if it's upside down, it won't actually connect to the cylinder itself. And then these actually connect to the cylinder, or what I'm going to do is connect it to an inline system, which can produce a considerably more efficient engine. So here we go, I've hooked up all these exhausts, creating a lot of exhaust entering this one, so there's 4 gases, up to 1.54. So it is actually less than before, because I was getting 1.93, well, just over 1.9 efficiency with the 4 connected to here, but this is only with a single turbocharger. And the most powerful thing with this is that this can be increased. You can have a maximum of 30 gases passing through a turbocharger. You can have more passing through, but only 30 have an effect. The more, the better. So I'm just piping in a load more cylinders. The more exhaust you have, each one will actually produce 1 exhaust. And so you want to try and connect as many exhausts to your cylinders as possible. Though I do need to have carburetors on these, otherwise they won't be producing anything. So here we go. This is 29 gases, and so I do want to try and get 30 because I'm not at the maximum efficiency. So all I need to do is just add another one here. So just place it like that, and like so. And now we have 30 gases, giving an efficiency of 3.93 to this cylinder here. So that is now actually at maximum efficiency for this carburetor. Unfortunately, the others are not so. So the power per fuel is considerably lower, since this one is the only one working efficiently, and this power per fuel operates on over the whole engine. The great thing, however, with these turbochargers is that I could pipe the exhaust straight out of this one into another turbocharger connected to one of these other carburetors. So I will just connect them all up now. So there are actually 4 different turbochargers you can use. There is the turbocharger right, the turbocharger left, which have the exhaust inputs and outputs going in this orientation like so. Then there are the inline ones, which have the exhausts going in this orientation, connected to the carburetor there. You'll end up using the turbocharger inlines quite regularly, but these ones are also effective to be used, and the exhausts can be piped in either direction. They are omnidirectional now. They never used to be, but in the current stage of the game, they are omnidirectional. Well, not omnidirectional, either directional, because you can only have the gases flowing one direction through a system. Placing the inlines down is quite awkward, because you can only connect them to those little green pips there, which is not where I want to be connecting to the carburetors. So you can see here what I've done, I've placed them on like that, and I'm now going to turn this around and then shift replace all of them like so. Just like that. And then similarly on this side, I need to make sure I turn it the correct way around, like that. Just like that. So all of these are now connected to one of the carburetors, but the engine is not actually joined in. So just join that there. It's probably going to go bang because I have no exit to the system. Massive explosion as all the cylinders overheat at once. And now is the quite irritating task of piping everything together. So let's just add all these corner pipes in like so. This is not a very efficient setup at all for this, but doing an efficient setup for these engines in a small space is incredibly complex and takes a very long time to do. And this is just showing you the sort of power which can be achieved utilizing this setup. So what we have here is that all the gases are being collected by this exhaust system and piped to the first inline turbocharger, and then it goes through all the system like this, and every single one has got 3.93 and 30 gases passing through it, which means that all of these have 30 gases providing an efficiency bonus of 3.93. That means that now the engine is considerably more power efficient. So inline turbos actually work multiplicatively with each other, so rather than just having the 3.39 being doubled if I add 2 in, that is multiplied together to get a maximum of 1288 power per fuel per carburetor. So I'll just show you a quick little setup of that now. There we go, so I've just got the setup here, just having to rotate them all around, just being a little bit irritating, and I keep doing that. That, then that. Just like that, and then need to get the other turbocharger like so, fill in all these gaps. Like that, and then I get the exhaust straight pipe, and I will connect all of these together thusly. And then just need to connect it all to the primary system. And now, in fact a smaller space than this engine, I have a considerably more efficient engine. So as you can see, an overall efficiency increase of 15.46 with the 2 compared to this one, which is 3.39. And that means this engine is now running at 1288 power per fuel with the maximum power of 1400. That is a considerably better engine there. And as I said, yes, it is also more compact. I've lined it all up nicely, and this is a very good little engine to have on a ship. So you can make the power density of this one more because you have less piping issues with the turbochargers, and you can then have more carburetors, whereas having to pipe 2 turbochargers onto each carburetor is more complicated. But the rewards are significant in order to do that. So yes, but having 1288 compared to a 300 power per fuel will mean that even a very small fuel tank will last a very long time, and you barely need any efficiency on your refineries in order to beat steam in efficiency. In fact, both of these beat the default steam, which is equivalent to 200 power per fuel when taking an efficiency 10 refinery. Other things you can do with these engines is that you can pipe the exhaust from one system, in this case this engine, straight into the carburetors and turbochargers of the next engine. As you can see here, this exhaust is coming over to here and then powering these turbochargers with the 30 exhaust gases, making them very efficient and the high efficiency there, which means that this engine has a power per fuel of 5000, which in fact means it is using 0 fuel per second. This is a 0 fuel engine. There is no fuel being used by this engine whatsoever. Of course, it's using very little power, and in order for this I am using this engine, which is currently burning a lot of fuel per second. This 5000 is still not the highest power per fuel you can get out of an engine. I can increase this even further by adding more carburetors. So add another one here, just like that. So now I have this engine, but the exhaust is now not clear because I was angling it at that system, so I need to clear the exhaust, make sure it cools down. And there we go, 19,921 power per fuel, so it's getting a little bit insane, but it can increase this even further. So let us go like this. Need to turn that one around so I can actually pipe the exhaust out properly. And that will go like so. It's an absolutely terrible setup, but this is purely for demonstration purposes. And then finally, straight pipe there, exhaust, and this is kind of insane. 78,000 power per fuel. That is the most power per fuel you can get for an engine, and it is ridiculous. Of course, it also uses no fuel whatsoever, so it is a brilliant little thing to do. So finally, I'm going to end on this design. This is Guaibee's useful fuel engines. He's gone through the community and pulled out designs from all over, modified and improved them. I have helped out on this platform, helping design the engines, because as I showed you, the engines are very complicated to do, and trying to fit them in an efficient space is incredibly difficult. So at the bottom here we have the basically 3 0 fuel engines, which at the ridiculous power per fuels, but they have very low power per bounding box. What a power per bounding box means is that that is the size of the prefab. So say I want to place this prefab here. This prefab is a 5x5x7. So I would then divide the energy, this in case 3200, by the volume, which would means it's only 18 power per bounding box. So this middle yellow line is the medium efficiency engines, these are around about the 1288, slightly above efficiency. One of the designs I've sorted out here is this one. This is an extendable engine, so the first 6 blocks are standard, and then the next ones from here onwards are can be extended as long as you like, and then you just have to put the backplane on. For more information, you can also come over to this one, which explains basically what I've said in this tutorial in lots more detail. So it's got Y in lines, and you can, I'll scroll through slowly here. Actually, you can all see it on. So if you don't want to pause the video, you can read that, and basically what I've mentioned here. And on the top line here, we have the maximum efficiency per bounding box carburetor engines, which really only use one or so in lines, but they are quite a lot more power per bounding box, about 46 and more, whereas these are around about 24 maximum, and these are a pitiful 4 at max power per bounding box. And then a couple of the injector testers showcased at the top there really show how poor they are in comparison fuel efficiency wise. So this is an example of how the extendable engine works. So this is the front section here. So place this one down, and that has the engine block at the front. Then you can place as many of these downs as you want after it, and then you just have to end it on here, which joins the whole system back together. But an extendable engine is not that simple, particularly when you're working in all the planes. You have to follow the route of the exhaust gases to ensure that you're getting the maximum efficiency. And you do that by basically finding where the system starts. So got here 60, and then following it all the way around the system, figuring out where it actually goes. So it goes into this one, which then goes into here, then there, then there, then down here, and down like this, and down and around. And this is what you have to do to try and figure out where to make an edit in an engine. So yes, with this engine you can see all the exhausters being gathered at this back here. So it all comes round like so, and then it exits the system here and enters the very first carburetor turbo here, and it goes all the way around and snakes its way through the whole system, ensuring that every single one is getting at least 30 gases. So although you only need 30 at maximum, it's always a good idea to try and have as many of the gases going through as possible, because that means that at lower powers this is not actually under so much load, so the number of gas passing through will be less, but by having more generally, it means the efficiency will maintain a nice high value. If I take down, say, one of these guys, reducing the load on the system, see now there's only 91 where that used to be 121 gases through the system. And that means that some of these are now down to 39. And if I did then remove this one or lower this power even further, I won't remove it completely, but say I took the power right down, this is barely on tick over, and it's only a few gases being used, which means that this efficiency is actually right down. It's only 400 where it used to be 1288. So if I push it all the way back up to full, it's actually, power per fuel is slightly higher at the moment because it's a little bit cooler and not under as much load. But that's also, but when it's under full load, it's at 1288. And this is why you utilise this as a standard under 100% load, just because of how things can change as you just adjust the drive. So if I just drop the drive down, see the power fuel is going up and up and up, and then it suddenly drops again because the carburetors, the inlines, are not being fed enough exhaust gases. And that is just a complicated equation, whereas dealing with just maximum drive, it makes talking about engines a lot simpler between all players. But there you have it. Hopefully you found that very interesting. Injector engines are simple enough to get working to a minor efficiency, but getting them much more efficient takes a very long time to make sure you Tetris them together. Thanks for watching.